Okay, uh, this is day 34 of the legislative session. We're going to set today's calendar. But first, I'm going to ask Chairman Jaspers if he would open us with a word of prayer.
Yes, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for another wonderful day to do great things for Georgians. Lord, please put that hedge of protection around all of us and our families for our health and our welfare and our love, and look after us and help us, Lord, just join together to make wise decisions for all the people of the state of Georgia. And please look after us, bless our families while we're gone. In your name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Okay, our first order of business, I think we have 4 substitutes that we need to take a look at. First is SR 19. Leader Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Jaspers, for that prayer. Colleagues, I want to bring to you this morning the substitute for Senate Resolution 19. This resolution proposes a constitutional amendment to the Georgia Constitution and puts a referendum on the ballot for the voters of Georgia. I'll go through what changes there are and clarifications there are in the document. I'll start with Section 1, of course. Section 1 clarifies, some language there clarifies that neither house may meet somewhere other than the Capitol or adjourn for more than 3 days without the consent of the other chamber. It's just clarifying some language presently in the Constitution now. New language that we would add, add to some of that language. When there is an emergency affecting the state due to already in place enemy attack, we would add natural or man-made disaster and pandemic. These circumstances would make it difficult or impossible for us to meet in this Capitol. This amendment allows the General Assembly to meet through virtual means, subject, of course, to the General Assembly rules, our House rules that we've adopted. If the General Assembly so chooses and needs to meet electronically, members will be able to observe and hear meeting, discussions, debate, and statements and votes of all other members. The general public can observe and hear meetings, discussions, debate, and statements, and will observe the votes of the members. Members will be able to see contents of legislation, as we do now. Members in a different format, but as we do now, as we have notice of that legislation. Members can submit legislation, amendments, and documents electronically. Section 2 expands the circumstances when the General Assembly is able to suspend constitutional legislative rules. Previously restricted only when a disaster is caused by enemy attack. We will simply add the other 2 items to this. It now allows for this to be whenever there is an enemy attack, a natural or man-made disaster, or a pandemic. And of course, when the General Assembly deems it necessary due to these circumstances. Section 3 certainly is important to us all, and certainly for me, as I understand, as folks in this, the voters of Georgia understand clear language, the constitutional questions that are put before them. The language of the constitutional referendum will read as such on the ballot. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to provide that the General Assembly may meet in places other than the state capitol or by electronic means in the event of an emergency situation? Mr. Chairman, that's what this resolution would do, would enable this body to do, and to benefit the people of Georgia. And I would answer any questions or provide any resources for the members.
Let's see, 27, Chairman Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Leader, for that good explanation. A question that came to my mind, and I think I have found the answer. I just wanted to confirm it through you. My question was, there needs to be obviously a trigger as to who would make this decision, how, when, and where, that we would indeed meet somewhere else, because we know that the Constitution currently provides for us to be here on, I think, the 2nd Monday in January. I believe line 30 and 31 on the bill, where it says the General Assembly may meet at another location or may meet through electronic means as provided by the rules of the General Assembly or as provided by law. So I think what we would do is come back later, would we not, and flesh out through our House rules or through legislation, put the meat on the bone, so to speak, of how that meeting would actually be called?
I think the gentleman is correct in his reading and his analysis, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I don't see any, okay, you got one? Okay, I guess it's the appropriate time.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for approval of the sub to SR 19 LC 289821S.
Okay, got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Thank you, sir. Well, it has been approved. Okay. If the doorkeeper will let Mr. Ligon in. Okay, Mr. Ligon, I think you've got, how many bills do you have?
I see on today's calendar, there are two that I haven't talked about and one that I addressed yesterday, and I don't know if you want me to mention that.
No, just do the new ones.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first bill is Senate Bill 38, and this is really...
Excuse me a second. That's on the yellow sheet, journal calendar?
This is
Oh, excuse me, blue sheet?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's the third from the top. This bill creates a process. This is for it's for Glenn County, although it is a general bill, to place a binding question on the November 2020 election for the voters to determine whether or not they want the police power of the transferred from the Glenn County Police Department to the Glenn County Sheriff. And all of you are aware of the issues that we had recently there, and there are some of those issues that go back even before that were addressed in a 2019 grand jury report. I'll be glad to answer any questions on that bill, Mr. Chairman.
See no questions. Go to your next bill, please, sir.
Senate Bill 318 is a Campus Free Speech Act. It protects free speech on our college campuses by eliminating these so-called free speech zones and providing rules and guidelines for reasonable regulation of those areas.
Okay, very good. I see no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would the doorkeeper let Miss Penny Houston in? Miss Penny, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you. I have two bills. One is House Bill 1148, and House Bill 1148 changes the way we elect our magistrate court judge. The magistrate court judge in Berrien County was appointed, and the people don't want an appointed judge anymore, and there are only about 6 counties left in Georgia that appoint the magistrate court judge, and they would like to elect their judge instead of having it appointed. And also, it would like to be nonpartisan, and this has nothing to do with any political party, and you can look at the demographics in my district and tell this is not political.
Okay, I see no questions. If you'll go to 1195 then.
1195, once the magistrate court judge went nonpartisan, we want to be fair to everybody, and we want all judges in Berrien County to be nonpartisan. It is not political. You can look at how we voted the last 2 elections, and you would know this has nothing to do with partisan politics.
See no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bring in Senator Black, please. He's not there. Okay, don't have to worry about that one. Senator Watson, 303.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
I have 2 bills on your blue sheet there. Senate Bill 303 is the Georgia Right to Shop Act. Basically, it is a transparency bill. It provides for quality metrics and for prices to be posted on a website by your insurance company that will, if you look at line 83, the actual amount that a covered person will be responsible to pay following the receipt of a particular health care service. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, see no questions. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Is it okay if I talk about House Bill 395?
Yes, sir.
That has to do with a authority. It is a general bill because it would affect anybody, but the only place it really affects is the Chatham County Hospital Authority. When a private company bought the public hospital now has over $100 million. That indigent care can only be used, the interest can only be used, and this just allows us to invest it basically like the teacher's retirement system, and that's all it does.
Okay, got a question from the leader.
A question to the gentleman. There's a board, I think, that's set up in Chatham County that has basically administered that money over the years. Are they in support of your legislation?
Yes, sir. They are 100% on board.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, so we're good on that. Thank you, sir. Okay, I guess Senate Bill 310, which is Mr. Harper. There's a change on that. It'll be handled on the floor by Representative Vance Smith. Mr. Harper, if he's in. Okay, Vance Smith, that's right, Harper's still in a committee meeting. Oh, there he is.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time to, I'm sorry I'm running a little late. We had my committee meeting this morning, just trying to get some good House bills moved on the Senate side, Mr. Chairman.
We appreciate that.
Always doing good work, trying to. I believe I have a couple of bills. Senate Bill 310 will be the first one. This is the PESC bill, Professional Engineering, Structural Engineering bill. It would, in the code, allow for a structural engineer designation. This is actually supported by the PELS Board, the Professional Engineering Licensing Board, and also the Secretary of State's office is certified that this would have no cost to the state of Georgia. And that's what the bill does, simply, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next bill.
Senate Bill 358 would simply make the muscadine grape the official grape of the state of Georgia. And the muscadine has a long history in our state. And I actually have the largest muscadine operation in the state of Georgia in the district that I represent, as well as Representative Perkle. So I'd appreciate y'all's consideration on that one as well.
Okay, we got a question over in the corner. Well, thank you, sir. The senators have another bill over there that I'm in the process of drafting a substitute for. It's, I think it's Senator Walker's bill that says that the pecan is the state nut of Georgia.
Yes, sir.
I was planning on putting the state senate instead of, but I don't want to disparage the pecan, so we'll just leave it alone as it is. Ms. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
What's your number? Okay.
I have no idea. Thank you. I would like to go back to 310 and ask what Representative Smith is going to add on the floor to this bill.
I don't think he's going to carry it on the floor.
Oh, I thought you said he had a...
Oh, no. So, it was listed as Representative Washburn was going to carry it, but that was a mistake on our part. It's Representative Smith.
I heard it wrong. I thought there was going to be an amendment. Thank
you. Mr. Rogers.
Yes, sir. Senator,
Yes, sir.
310. Again,
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that we're only half the states have this designation, and we're doing this designation. Part of the reason is it's going to kind of give us more of a competitive edge. Is that true?
That is correct, Representative
And
Rogers.
it's part of
Completely
the
correct.
big push on small business.
That is
a good
correct.
bill.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
a very good bill.
Thank you.
Okay. I see no more questions. Thank you, sir. Oh, hold on one second. Push your button.
I have one more bill also, Mr. Chairman. if
Okay,
that's
we got a
okay.
question here.
Yes, sir.
This happens, isn't it true, Mr. Chairman, that I'm looking on 310, it talks about regulating wrestling and martial arts. I
So-
just wondered what that had to do with structural engineering.
Okay.
I can answer that one really quick to your question. The House Bill 516, you actually have already passed this bill last year. It was vetoed by the governor because it didn't go through the GORC, the Occupational Commission. Part of the bill that we passed last year had the martial arts stuff in there. When I had it drafted in the Senate, it had it in there. We removed that stuff out of the Senate to pare it down to just this. And so the title still reflects the original bill, even though we're just pared down to just structural engineering. Has nothing to do with the martial arts anymore.
Thought we might be building some more buildings for martial arts.
Okay.
And-
All right, what's your third bill?
The last bill, Senate Bill 407, and Mr. Chairman, this is the Palmetto Berry theft bill. Y'all have passed a version of this bill in House Bill 966. I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, I actually have House Bill 966 on the floor of the Senate today. House Bill 966 and Senate Bill 407 are identical at this point. So if we're able to pass House Bill 966 out, and possibly over for an agree, would Representative Burchett, I may save your Rules Committee a little bit of work on Senate Bill 407, but it would just address the issue of the soft palmetto berry theft that we're seeing in southeast Georgia, and help address that for our landowners. That's what
Okay.
Senate Bill 407 does.
Very good. Thank you, sir. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to be with you.
Okay. Is Mr. Tippins in?
Thank
All
you,
right,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring you Senate Bill 315 this morning and ask for it. I'll try to be as brief and concise as I can. Under existing lien law, statute law, there are
315.
Pardon?
I was telling them what the committee, the Senate bill number, 315.
315.
Okay, go ahead.
The current provisions under law is if you file an interim request for payment, you have to sign a lien waiver to be paid, and most owners require that lien waiver to be signed at the time the bill is submitted. There's some ambiguity in existing law, and I will read it to you. The heading on the lien waiver that you sign, it says waiver and release of lien and payment, waiver and release of lien upon payment. The second part of this is the notice. It says, when you execute and submit this document, you shall be conclusively deemed to have been paid in full the amount stated. The problem has arisen that people will sign the lien waiver to facilitate payment, and you are conclusively deemed to have been paid in full, even though you're just at that time submitting the bill. We have a 60-day time clock in this. If you're not paid, you have to file a notice of non-payment to void the lien waiver that you sign. This bill, what it does is it leaves in place that requirement to sign or to file notice that you have not been paid. It moves that to a 90-day period, which is the same as a final lien, but it also makes a provision that your right to recover under contract is not extinguished if for some reason you don't, if by oversight you don't file a notice of non-payment within 60 days. This case has gone to the Court of Appeals and also been affirmed by the Supreme Court. that this practice, even though it seems onerous and would be unjust enrichment, they say this is what the statute currently says. This bill clarifies that your ability to collect under contract is distinctly different from your ability to file a lien that attaches the property. The lien and the validity of the lien remains in place. This just separates it out that when you sign an interim waiver, you're not signing away all of your recovery rights. We've got one contractor in the state.
Hey, Senator, well, we're short on time.
Thank you, sir.
And we've got a question over here from the Chairman of Judiciary, Chairman Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I appreciate you trying to describe what this does, because in my practice, materialman's lien law can be quite complicated and fine-tuned, and that kind of goes to my question here. This is very important law, as I know that you know, between subcontractors, contractors, and our ability in this state to get buildings built and paid for properly through our process. My question is, have the subcontractors, the contractors, all those folks looked at these changes and agreed on them? Because what I don't want the inadvertent result of this to be that we mess up that delicate balance that the case law has created, and that all those parties be on board with this change.
I can say conclusively from the Georgia Chamber of Commerce to the Associated General Contractors, there's about 20 professional organizations that are related to the construction business, highway contractors, concrete contractors. Every major organization that I know that represents construction in the state of Georgia has endorsed and signed off on this, and I can give you a list of it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I guess a clarifying question. Isn't it true that with these, the issues that are going on in law, this is creating some loopholes and it's creating a lot of problems, and that this legislation fixes it? And isn't it further true that these contractors who are trying to do a good job and an honest job are relying on a fix because there's some bad apples that are taking advantage of the problem in code?
You're absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. No more questions. Thank you. If you'll send Senator Thompson in. Morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Just a little tidbit. Brevity is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got two bills on here. One we talked about yesterday, SB 316, reciprocity for military spouses. And if we drop down to SB 337, it's invasion of privacy. Back in 2014, where Chairman Tanner had the revenge porn, this simply says that you cannot create through technology the same image and do the same thing.
Okay, you have a question from Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, would you have any objection to adding the original name of this bill, the Tracy Rainey bill, to yours, the wife of former commander of the 3rd Infantry Division who's been deployed 5 times? You have a problem with just adding that name?
Are we talking about on 316?
Yes, the military spouses bill.
I'm not opposed to.
You're not opposed to it? All right, thank you, sir.
You're going to add an amendment. Remember, it's modified structure.
All right.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. 336 is Mr. Gooch. There's a substitute for that. There's a minority leader here. Okay. Find you a microphone somewhere and we'll get you going. Okay, 336, Mr. Gooch.
Good morning. Senate Bill 336 is a license plate bill to honor the veterans who received the Meritorious Service Medal, and also those who are United States Army Rangers, past, present, or graduates. They would all be eligible for the new license plates. As you all know, the Army Rangers are the most elite, large-scale fighting force in the U.S. Army today. Out of the 9 active duty units of Army Rangers, 7 are located here in Georgia. And of course, Fort Benning is the home of that elite group as well. And Dahlonega is proud to be the home of the 5th Ranger Training Battalion up at Camp Frank D. Merrill. So I would be honored if you would pass this legislation next week.
Okay, I think we have a substitute for that. Minority Leader Trammell, you'll mash your button there. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the Rules Committee's consideration. Substitute is LC 392695S, and the only change that the substitute makes is in Section 3 of the substitute. It adds a specialty license plate for the Georgia Tennis Foundation. That's a bill that Representative Anulowicz carried and that passed out of the House and was over in the Senate, and her bill became a vehicle for something else. And I believe the Senator, Representative Anulowicz is working and it's friendly.
Okay. You know, this, y'all know my feelings on tags. But if we're going to do tags, why don't we do them kind of like we do road namings, just put them all in one bill. Be a whole lot easier. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second to add for substitute for 336 is LC number 392695S. I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. It's substitute carries. Thanks, sir. You have another?
I have actually 3 more. SB 489 is a bill that I believe is on your list as well. Deals with strobe lights. So on the back page of your blue sheet, removes the strobe requirement for slow-moving vehicles. Georgia is the only state that requires that. Years ago when we codified this, we put the strobe light requirement in, but it also requires a triangle on the back of the slow-moving vehicles. These vehicles you will typically see in a downtown area on streets with a low speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less. A lot of your universities are using these vehicles as well, and they're becoming more widespread, and we can bring in some competition and some more vendors to the state of Georgia if we remove this requirement. Only one other company has this equipment on their vehicle. We'd love to open this up for other competition to come to Georgia.
Okay, I think we have a substitute also for that one. LC 392693S, Whip Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The substitute before you for Senate Bill 489 simply adds in House Bill 463 that dealt with provide some clarification for 3-wheeled vehicles and when a Class C license would be needed. It passed with only 2 no votes in the House, and my understanding is the Senate Majority Whip and I have talked, and he's all right with this addition, and I would ask for this committee's favorable consideration.
Okay, we have a substitute for Senate Bill 489. It's LC 392693S. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion, here a second? Got a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Substitute passed. Thank you, sir. You have another one?
Yes, sir, if I could mention it, SB 370 and 371 both are dealing with the railroads. SB 370 is some easement language that helps fix some language we passed last year in SB 2, which deals with the EMCs and promoting broadband. This deals with the easements that are come across a railroad easement. This only codifies that they have to follow the railroad easement safety requirements. If any contractor of an EMC is coming into the easement to put up broadband deployments, they have to follow the railroad safety protocols that are already in written agreement, but they've all agreed to it. The EMCs are okay with the language as well.
Okay, no question. Thank you, sir.
And if I may, SB 371 deals with the Freight Commission. The Joint Freight and Logistics Committee passed this recommendation in their study committee last year. Basically creates a plan that GDOT would start to implement a rail plan across our state to get freight off of our roads and on our Class 1 railways. Well, there's no funding in the budget this year, but we anticipate with time and monies available in the future, we would start to appropriate funds for GDOT to implement the plan. We're simply asking for GDOT to start the plan and present it to the committees on transportation in the coming years.
Okay. See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Senator Beach has already talked about 340. 391, Kirkpatrick. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 391. It's about prescription refills during a state of emergency, such as a hurricane. And actually, the governor has covered this temporarily in his executive orders. What it does is it waives the requirement for limitation on refill too soon for medications under 2 conditions. 1, the governor has declared an emergency, or 2, a hurricane warning is in effect by the National Weather Service. It would have to be refillable, could not be a Schedule II drug, and the pharmacist would have to notify the prescriber. It should streamline the process of making sure that patients continue their essential medications during a disaster, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. See no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, 394, Mr. Albers. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you so much for your time today. Senate Bill 394 provides state investigators in the Attorney General's office who already have post-certification the authority in order to help rescue victims in human trafficking. As we all know, last year, the legislature passed the largest bipartisan bill fashioned to help end human trafficking. We voted to add funds into the budget to create the very first human trafficking prosecution unit. This bill allowed that unit to begin and work in earnest, and we are literally saving people's lives. We also do a great job through the AG's office with Medicaid fraud. I know many of us have worked on that over the years. They save millions of dollars a year. In fact, last year, they saved the state $8.5 million and brought some bad actors to justice. This bill will help rescue and save people's lives through ending human trafficking. It'll save the state money. It has got the support from the GBI, the Georgia Sheriff's Association, and the police chiefs. And this is consistent. Final comment, this is the same thing that is done in many other agencies, such as the Department of Revenue, the Secretary of State, the Insurance Commissioner, and various other licensing boards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield for any questions.
Okay, 16, Chairman Afstration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for presenting the bill. Isn't it true that this legislation is necessary to continue the important fight to stop evil human trafficking, criminal enterprises that we continue to face in the state?
Yes, sir, and thank you so much for that comment, and I know we're all passionate about that. I want to thank our governor and First Lady Marty Kemp and the Grace Commission for helping to lead that effort.
Well, thank you, and also want to thank the Attorney General. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, sir. See no more questions.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think Mr. Tippins talked about his judgeship. No, I don't. Is Mr. Tippins? Okay, I don't guess he's out there. All right, Senate Bill 408. We have a substitute for that. With Mr. Strickland come in? I think Senator Strickland will explain the substitute.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring to you Senate Bill 408, and as you mentioned, it has a rule substitute. Section 1 was my original Senate Bill 408, and as some of y'all may recall, a few years ago, we had a bill that allows for folks to use sick leave to care for other family members with a sunset on it, and we extended that sunset for 3 more years. The rest of the bill was added in committee. What we're doing is preserving the right to have the current unemployment benefits that are in effect with the public health emergency order continue at the discretion of the labor commissioner based on unemployment moving forward.
Okay, any questions? Who's carrying that bill for you in the House?
Chairman Werkheiser.
Werkheiser. Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Oh,
thank you very much.
Oh, hold on a second.
Mr. Chairman, is this the proper time for me to ask the committee to make the motions that we accept the substitute?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make the motion that we accept the rules substitute to Senate Bill 408.
And that's LC 364412S.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got a motion, second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Substitute passes. Thank you. All right, I think Ligon's already talked about his basic education yesterday. Senator Wilkinson, annual performance. Is he in? Or he may have talked about that yesterday when he was here. I think he did. Okay. Ligon's finished. 43, Stone, garnishment proceedings, Senator Stone. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring you Senate Bill 443, which continues the process started 4 years ago by Chairman Willard and myself to modernize Georgia's garnishment statute. This bill does a couple of things in particular. It allows more flexibility for the parties to adjust garnishment deduction levels, and it also brings Georgia's garnishment of student loan judgments in line with the percentage deduction that's recognized for federal student loans. It's a good bill. It will save all litigants money by extending continuing garnishments up to 36 months. So the court costs are avoided when, under the present law, they have to be filed every 6 months. This is brought to you with input from practitioners on all sides, particularly the garnishees like ADP, Home Depot, that have a lot of garnishments because of the size of their workforce. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Chairman Cooper, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay. I see no questions. Well, who is sitting up? Okay. See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.
Okay. Now, just for your information, we will not have time to go through the remainder of these because the session's starting in a few minutes. We will go ahead and set the calendar for today. Senate Bill 38, its own. House Bill 1148, its own. House Bill 1195, its own. Senate Bill 315, its own. Senate Bill 391, its own. Senate Bill 394, its own. Senate Bill 405, its own. Senate Bill 407, its own. Oops. And Senate Bill 451, its own. Meeting's adjourned. Thank y'all.